We're live, Mr. Chairman. We're
Okay,
live.
thank you. Good evening, folks. This is the Wednesday, April 11th, 2022 Painesville Township Zoning Commission meeting. Welcome. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Okay, John Hott,
Here.
Daryl,
Here.
John Everett,
Here.
Mark,
Here.
and Chairman.
Here. Okay. And under the general commentary or questions from the public, if you have an item on the agenda, this is not the time for you. You have your time when we go to your item on the agenda. If there's anybody else in the audience right now who has a question or a commentary for the zoning commission, this is your time right now to ask or make a comment. Hearing none from the audience. Rachel, we get anything from the public for questions from us?
No, I have not.
And Harley?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so having heard none, I'll call the regular meeting to order. And we had the minutes of March 14th minutes mailed to us with one correction, but the correction was sent back to us. So any more corrections to the minutes on March 14th? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Mark seconded. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Okay, John Hott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
Daryl,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. We have 3 public hearings tonight. The first one is public hearing on case 22-007 ZC. Application for a zoning amendment to request to rezone 17 acres along Mentor Avenue, located between Chatham Drive to the southwest and Doane Avenue to the northeast, from a B1 restricted retail to B2 general retail. We also have received a letter from the Planning Commission that will enter into the record for all 3 public hearings. And is anybody from the audience would like to speak to us in regards to, open up for a discussion on the case 07?
Mr. Chairman, that was 17 parcels, not acres.
Yeah, 17 parcels, my fault, 17 parcels. Harley, staff report on this case, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The trustees have initiated this map change with the intent to increase the types of uses that would be permitted on this stretch of Mentor Avenue. Would you like me to address the Planning Commission letter at this time, or as part of my staff report?
Yes, make it part of your staff report, please.
Okay, we received a letter from the Lake County Planning Commission showing their recommendation to not rezone from B1 to B2, as it does not conform to the comprehensive plan. B2 is not a transition zone, and the change in zoning district does not conform to the purpose statement of B2, which is more appropriate for neighborhood central nodes at choice intersections. And the Lake County Planning Commission recommends that you study the land zoned B1 from Mentor City Line to Doane Street to see if the land would be better served zoned as B3. And
Okay.
Dave Radacci is in the audience to speak further on this recommendation if the commission would like to discuss this with him.
Mr. Radacci, would you like to help us out a little bit? And why you think it should be B3 instead of B2?
Like the recommendations stated, B2 is not a transitional zone. A transitional zone is a district that's used to go from more restrictive uses to lesser restrictive uses. So usually we use multifamily as a transition zone between commercial and single-family residential. In this case, the B2 is very similar to B3. The uses are very nominal between B2 and B3, so the commission thought it would be better suited to rezone all of Mentor Avenue from Mentor City Line to Doan Street. It also would bring in conformance to a couple other non-conforming uses in the B1 further down that's not even being addressed in this request for rezoning.
Okay, thank you. The commission members have any questions for Dave?
Yes, I have one question. I had a merchant approach me and asked how this would affect the appraisal of the taxes for that properties. That might change.
It would not, none of the changes, if it stays B1, B2, or B3, will not affect the appraisal of the property. The auditor looks at the land use code and they look at it to see if it's retail. The auditor doesn't care if it's B1, B2, C1, C2, C3, whatever the district is. They just look to see if it's a restaurant or if it's a shopping center or an office. That's how they tax each parcel.
Anybody else have any questions for Dave? Dave, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for the staff? Or does any commission member have a question or concern about this case? We have the option of, okay, hearing none from everybody. The options that we have is to continue the public hearing or is to close the public hearing. Right now, the request was to go from a B1 to B2, and the planning commission recommended going from a B1 to B3 in this area. We can't make that change during the public hearing, whatever we decide to do. So all we need to do right now is decide to continue the public hearing, need more information for the following meeting, which would be in May, or if you have enough information to make a recommendation to the trustees. So once we close the public hearing, we only have 30 days to make a recommendation.
I'm sorry. Just for official recommendation, we're recommending that the commission study to rezone the rest of the land to B3. We're recommending that it not be rezoned to B2. That's the main recommendation. And then to have the commission look at the rest of the land for B3. We're not suggesting that you scrap the B2 and go to B3 for everything. We are suggesting that the commission, and that would be a completely separate zoning amendment, as opposed to you just can't go from B1 to B2 when the request was
Okay.
B3. B1 to B3 without, so I just want to make sure that you don't.
2 steps.
2 steps. I just want to make sure that the commission stays on the straight and narrow on this.
Okay, then basically what you're asking us to do in your recommendation to us is continue the public hearing. Get
No,
some more information.
our recommendation is to, not to rezone to B2. To recommend to the trustees not to rezone to B2. And then start a new process to look at the land to see if it should be B3.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sorry if I,
And-
No, that's fine.
And Mr. Chairman, just
Go
to add on to that then, continuing the public hearing would not afford us the ability to, change this application from a B1 to B3 application. So whether the public hearing is continued, or closed this evening and the recommendation made to the trustees, the recommendation to the trustees would be the same. It would be on the B1 to B2 case, and then if we need to create a new case for B1 to B3, that would be a separate issue. I hope that made sense. I felt like I was talking in a circle.
Okay, so basically what we gotta do is, if we close the public hearing, okay, and we have to make a recommendation whether to do, recommend to them the B2 or not to recommend the B2, if they're gonna go. So I guess the question I got is, if you folks, well, we've heard, what's the commission's pleasure? Continue it or to close it? And again, once we close it, we have 30 days to make a recommendation to the trustees. Now, our recommendation can be a no, and our recommendation can be a yes. So, we heard from the staff. I also heard from Lake County Planning Commission on this issue. What's the board's pleasure? I can't make it.
I am not 100% certain that I understand. If we go from B1 to B2, then you said that we have to advertise again for the B1 to B3.
Yeah, which is my mistake. My understanding, or what I thought I understood from my discussion from Dave, was that we could go from B1 to B3 on this case, and so I misunderstood that.
It doesn't sound like that's possible anymore, right?
No, so my recommendation would be to close it, make the recommendation on this case, and if the commission would like to, would like to create a new case for a rezoning to B3 between the current, from Doan to Menor Avenue, you would have the authority to do that, and we can address rezoning to B3 if appropriate at that time.
Okay.
But right now, I think that you guys should close, make your recommendation on this one, and then we can have further conversation about rezoning the entirety to B3.
Understandable. All right.
I would make a motion to close.
I have a motion on the floor to close the public hearing of 2207. I got a second? John?
Sure.
Discussion on the motion. What we're doing, all we're doing is the motion on the floor is to close the public hearing 220007. Hearing none, discussion? Roll call, please, on the motion.
John Everett,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Darrell,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. We've closed the public hearing. Okay, I'm opening up the public hearing for 220008. It's a text amendment. Request proposes to amend section 22, changing the table of uses applicable to B1, B2, and B3 zoning districts. Staff?
This is another amendment that is being proposed by the trustees. They wanted to change the table of uses, sorry, I apologize, in a way that actually proves Dave's point. They wanted to permit more uses in the B2 district to more closely resemble B3. In addition, they were proposing to remove 2 uses from the B3 district, or rather, 4 uses, sorry, from the B3 district. Antique stores, excluding secondhand merchandise stores. This is being removed because we permit enclosed retail and we don't stipulate the type of retail. So that was being redacted because it's a permitted use in that district. There's no need to single it out. they'd like to remove new motor vehicle dealerships from the B3 district. They'd like to remove automotive repair. And they propose to remove adult-oriented businesses. All of these uses, with the exception of the antique stores, they were looking to move from the B3 into our I1 and I2 district. And we did receive a recommendation on these proposed text changes from the Lake County Planning Commission. The recommendations are as follows. Do not remove new motor vehicle dealerships from B3. Do not remove adult business from B3. Do not add adult business to I1. Remove bowling alley and add indoor commercial recreation to the list of uses in section 22 and add a new definition of indoor commercial recreation as an establishment engaged in providing activities for the general public indoors by means of games or sports for a fee, including but not limited to bowling alleys, space for competition such as indoor basketball courts and indoor soccer fields. You'll see in front of you that I've already done these edits as suggested by the Planning Commission, with the exception of the recommendation to not remove new motor vehicle dealerships from the B3 district, which I did because the trustees feel fairly strongly about it. Whatever your guys' recommendation is, obviously that's going to be the document that they're looking at, with or without that redaction. And in the copy that I provided you with these proposed changes, we have the inclusion of the indoor indoor commercial recreation. I also have one page from section 5, that's our definition section, where it shows the included definition for indoor commercial recreation. I did not add the language verbatim, which until now I didn't realize might be an issue, Dave, so if you could speak on that after. What I did do was I included some uses into that. It did say included but not limited to, but I wanted to further define including things like escape rooms, because they're now more popular, roller skating rings, which again are becoming more popular, and those were the two additions on my end. So I don't know if that's something that I'm permitted to do if it wasn't a part of the Planning Commission's recommendation.
It's fine.
Okay. So that's the end of my staff report, and then Dave could further elaborate as to why the Planning Commission made the recommendations that they did.
Okay, on the issue of new motor vehicle dealerships in B3, leaving them in, you have Village, you have Classic, the Classic dealership in a B3 currently, that will become illegal non-conforming. The general goal is not to have legal non-conformings, is to try to continue to have regular conforming businesses in your districts. Having it non-conforming may cause some issues for the business in the future if they can't expand, or if they try to go get a mortgage. The mortgage company will figure out it's non-conforming and may not want to lend to them. So there are issues when you remove, create, purposely make legal non-conformings. On the issue of the not removing adult businesses from B3, the B3 district has lots of residential around it, lots of churches, lots of daycare centers, and all those uses provide natural buffers to try to limit to where adult businesses can go in the district, whereas opposed the I-1 district does not have those natural buffers. There's not residential around it. There's not very many daycare centers. There are not very many churches in the I-1. Also, the I-1 has some great freeway visibility as you drive down Route 2. past the old county engineer's office and at the ODOT station. That's all I-1 over there. And so it could encourage these businesses to come to Painesville Township as opposed to trying to not bring them to the Painesville Township. The only, it's a dance that, adult-oriented businesses is a freedom of speech. And the dance that every community needs to do is to provide an area for it and not actually, actually have them want to come. So it's not, so they wouldn't be profitable where you would put them, so they naturally don't come.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dave or for Harley? Or we were told?
Just a quick point, the definition's only a suggestion. Staff has the right to modify my suggestion without any issues to the town, to the zoning commission.
Right. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dave? Okay, thanks, David. Appreciate it. Again, like the previous public hearing, we have a chance to, if there's any other questions or concerns or need for more information from the commission members, this will be the time to ask those questions. If there's no further information needed by the commission, we have a opportunity, the choices are like we had before, to either close the public hearing or continue the public hearing. So what would be the board's wishes on public hearing 22-0008 ZC?
I move to close.
I got a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Second by John.
Sir.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion to close public hearing 08. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Okay, Mark,
Yes.
Daryl,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. We closed that case 08. Okay. I'm going to open up a public hearing 22-0009. Application for a text amendment. The request proposes to amend section 25 to list of permitted uses allowed within the I-1 zoning district. Harley, staff report.
Mr. Chairman, this accompanies the previous case. This lists the uses that were removed from B3 in the I-1 district. The uses are automotive repair, new car sales with a conditional use permit, and adult-oriented businesses in accordance with section 25.14. It's probably self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to oblige.
Okay. I think the planning commission, Mr. Adachi talked to us about that already in the previous public hearing about this. Okay. So we had an added in their letter to us, and also what Dave said this in the previous public hearing, that do not add adult businesses to I-1 district. So, any questions from the commission members regarding this case? Either to clarification from the planning commission or clarification from the staff? Hearing no questions, entertain a motion to continue the public hearing or close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
I got a motion from Mark to close the public hearing. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Mark made a motion to close. And Daryl seconded. Discussion on the motion of closing the public hearing? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, Daryl,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Architectural reviews. Case 2210 ZC. Site plan review to remove an existing 50 by 30 attached garage and build a new 72 by 30 attached garage in its place. Is the applicant here?
Good evening, Board.
Would you please state your name and your address, please, for the record?
Shane Hajar, 1760 North Ridge Road, Painesville Township, Sub-Zero Mission.
All right, thank you.
Just a quick point, the size of the structure is 72 by 50.
Okay,
And that's what was presented on the site plan. Just want to make that in the records.
so it should be 50 instead of 30?
Correct.
Go ahead.
I apologize, that would be my error.
It's
if
okay.
That's the case.
Shane, excuse me, Shane, will you please tell us where the location of it is, on exactly roughly where it is?
Where the building is on the
Yes.
site,
Yep.
the garage will sit directly behind the existing store.
And where's the existing store at?
It's on Route 20, 1760 Menor Avenue, or North Ridge Road, next to the Marathon gas station,
Okay.
Painesville
It's to
Township.
the east of it, right?
Yes, between
Okay.
Bacon Road and the freeway
Thank you.
entrance.
Go ahead. Please proceed.
So the existing facility was recently purchased by Sub-Zero Mission, and the masonry garage that was on the back of the building did not serve purposes that we intend to use to store our vehicles inside. As you can see from the photograph, there you go. So.
Going to be this section right here.
That masonry building has since been demolished. Demolition began on April 1st and was completed late last week. And the new garage would go in its same place, slightly larger in its footprint and a taller ceiling to get the vehicles that you can see in the background. We have two large delivery buses that we deliver coats and boots and sleeping bags to the homeless from Cleveland to Ashtabula to Akron and some of the major metropolitan areas around the Great Lakes area.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Any additional more?
I think that's pretty much it. I can answer any questions if you have any questions.
Anybody have any, staff, anybody from the commission have any questions for the applicant?
I know we talked about the architectural elevations. Did you guys get some updated versions of those?
So I did create a color rendering of our existing building with a garage to the right shape and size and the door configuration. It was a pretty simple architectural software that I was using, and then I used one of the manufacturers to give a little better rendering description, but obviously the door configuration is more generic. So this is a little better graphic, but this is more accurate in terms of what the store would look like.
I think we have those with us.
Not the second.
Not a second one?
Not this.
Okay.
Not that one.
Okay.
And I can send additional copies or email it to you, Harley, if
Okay.
necessary.
Thank you.
So our corporate colors, as you can see by the bus in the background, is blue and silver.
Yeah.
And we would request that we create a garage that meets our current corporate colors with a slate-colored wall panel and a blue tone roof panel.
Okay.
And this color for the main walls of the garage is similar to the existing wood paneling on the side of the store. In the future, we have, some long-range plan to do some enhancement to our existing facility as we're a donation-based nonprofit. So once we're able to put our buses inside and get them out of the weather, we would like to continue moving forward with some site improvements. That's not part of this plan, and hopefully it wouldn't be contingent on the approval of this plan, but certainly having it be cohesive and connected is a long-range plan when finances permit that.
I noticed on one of the sketches that we got, it shows the auction barn.
One of the buildings, yes. Mhm.
I know that barn quite well. You're east of that yet, a little bit, right?
Just to the west, actually.
Oh, just to the west.
North is facing downward,
Yeah.
so we're between the
That's
auction
what
barn.
confused me.
Okay,
You showed in Bohol Road, and that's east of this area.
correct.
I've been out that way a few times, and I don't remember seeing it.
There's about a 5-foot diameter blue Sub-Zero logo on our
Maybe-
tower.
So
Harley, if
there's
you could bring that.
Marathon. Here's where, now it's like an athletic center, but where,
The old True Value.
the old True Value, thank
Okay.
you. And then Marathon Gas,
Uh,
E-Check across the way, and it's right next to Marathon.
All right, so that you
Hickory
have
Drive,
a
yeah.
face out to North Ridge,
Correct,
and that's already existing, you're not making any changes to it.
correct. The existing main building will remain unchanged. This is a garage on the rear of the structure.
They say on the rear, you don't mean it's connected, does it?
It is,
Oh, on the same place where you tore the old one off?
correct.
Oh, And
Yeah.
that, the door would be facing west?
The bay doors will be on the east and the west side, so there'll actually be 2 drive-through bays. The one bus is 38 feet long, the other one is 36 feet long. So to be able to pull them in, load up, and then head back out to continue our delivery.
Okay. And then you mentioned the color schemes. I think
Mhm.
those be, and looking at those schemes, the pale blue and the still gray, I think it'd be toward, I think that's a little bit like the Western Reserve look we're looking for. And that'll be, that'll be looked at, seen from the roadway, so that's good.
Okay,
It is similar to the Western Reserve.
Yeah, this is, we
Let's
changed
talk
this
about-
section of the Western Reserve look last year, the year before, I can't remember. This is part of the Western Reserve, section 39.
Good.
Section 39 of our zoning code.
I thought it was right, but I want to make sure I was thinking about the right parcel.
yes, sir.
No problem. Any other questions for the applicant? Right now, you're okay. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the addition will be good for the community. The building type, I will say that the overall structural design does hint to our Western Reserve architectural desire, the shape. I wouldn't necessarily say the design does, however, considering the use and the company that's using it, I think it fits its purpose, would be my
Okay.
only statement.
I'm sorry,
I want to ask gentleman just there another question.
right ahead.
He's still in mic. Everybody hear your answer.
Yes, sir.
How much of the back building can be seen from Route 20?
The westerly side of the building would be visible, similar to what you can see in that frame there. So if you were
Okay.
driving westbound on Route 20, eastbound on Route 20, you'd be able to see that side of the garage. The other side and the rear are not visible from the
Yeah.
street.
I was just curious because I knew part of the time was not, but I didn't know which one you had where.
Yeah, you can see just the corner there, but it's pretty occluded by the building.
That would make a difference in how I feel about it.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Harley, I have a question for you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman?
Since the applicant says it's a 72 by 50, not 30, is that gonna make is that gonna present a problem?
No, there's no legal notice required for this.
Okay. Any other questions of the commission for either the applicant or for the staff? On this,
Do you have any ideas on landscaping or trying to make the site actually look, it is looking better than it has been in the past, I'll admit that, but I noticed you had landscaping not applicable in one place there, and it's kind of muddy right now and everything, but I could not distinguish where your property lines were exactly. Some of the landscaping is from the old Hickory Drive-In, I think, but
From the aerial view, you can see the existing garage at the rear of the building, and ours is going to be a little bit larger in both length and width. It's all aggregate gravel parking now, so there is no landscaping that exists. We did not intend to put any landscaping at the rear of the building, as most of it's not visible from the street. But again, as I mentioned, some of our future plans, after we're able to get these buses out of the inclement weather, we do have long-range plans to do some site enhancements once we get past this process. There is some landscaping around the front of the building, and as you mentioned, we've spent a decent amount of effort to keep the beds mulched and the bushes trimmed and give it a nicer appearance. I think it was underkept for a while by previous
it
tenants.
looks better than it did
Yeah,
a while back, a year or so.
Yeah, that was not a good area for a long time.
right. It was a tire shop, so I mean, it was
So what's the nature of the business, just because I'm new to that?
Sub-Zero Mission.
Yeah.
We're a nonprofit homeless outreach. We
Okay.
take our buses out 50-plus times a year at night in the wintertime and deliver boots, coats, and sleeping bags to the unsheltered homeless.
Thank
And
you.
as far as the landscaping is concerned, you said you're not doing anything with that main building yet,
Correct.
but that might be in the future.
Yeah.
So just let you know that when you do go in the future, you may want to think about maybe looking at our landscaping regulations and maybe look at that at that time.
Okay.
Okay? But understanding that this case is just for the rear garage to make it bigger and to facilitate your mission.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's just my opinion on it.
Understand.
I got four other ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant or the staff?
Thank you.
Okay, so, on this case here, it's just like a new garage. It's 72 by 50. On the floor here was 30, but the applicant said it's 50 feet, and staff said there's no problems and no changes need to be made. As far as that, as far as the application is concerned. So we have a choice to make. We entertain a motion to either approve the proposed site plan, or we can say no, deny the site plan and have them come back. So that, we're looking for a motion.
I'll move
one way or the
to
other.
approve the application.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by John and second by Mark. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, John Hott,
Yes,
Daryl,
Yes?
Mark,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, your application has been approved.
thank you.
Yes. Okay, case 22011, architectural review for Sunoco Gas Station at 1435 Mentor Avenue. Well, is the applicant here? Good, sir.
My name is Jamil Herbawi. The address is 1435 Manor Avenue. It's for, to expand the C-store into the two-car garage bay. It's a remodel in the existing building. We give you guys copies of all the blueprints. I don't know if you got a chance to review those.
So what do you, actually, are you taking out the garage portion and changing it into a, like a
Convenient.
small convenient?
Mhm.
That's what you're proposing to do?
Yeah, so right now where the Mountain Dew stickers are, where the front entrance door is the original store. We're turning that into a beer cave in the drawings. And the two-car bay garage is gonna be the front doors to the new store.
Okay. You're still gonna have the pumps, correct?
Yeah,
What I don't have here, I'm just gonna ask the question, is that you're gonna expand your retail here. Question I have for you is, are we gonna have, and I guess it's more for staff, do we have adequate parking on site for the expanded retail? From what it is, what we have now to future? You know, based upon what they're gonna do.
from what my architect told me was yes, but I don't know how that goes with zoning.
So, let me look at our,
Or did I miss that in the application?
When you say are you eliminating any of the auto repair part in that building there, or is that a separate building that you're talking about expanding to retail?
No, just into the two-car garage.
That'll be completely remodeled,
Yeah.
correct?
Now, so you would not be doing internal or repair on the cars in the area?
No, sir.
what's the square footage of the new C-store?
It's gonna be a little over, about 880.
I was trying to find
So,
paperwork.
if they need,
Currently on the property,
One
along the
space
building,
for-
is 5.
Yeah, it'll allow for
for
five?
two
or
hundred and
support
fifty
five?
square feet.
Just as is right now, it's 5.
Yeah, so one space per 250 square feet of gross floor area. So you're at 880, you said? So yeah. You guys are good. They'll have adequate parking.
They have quite a bit of lake. You approached this board once before for a convenience store in that area?
Oh, no,
No,
that-
I actually just purchased.
They're new owners.
New owners, okay.
Yes.
What I was getting at is there's a lot of that property there still belongs to the same station, right?
Yeah,
But,
they had a previous plan to do an complete expansion. I think about 2 years ago, in 2019.
Yeah.
but with the angle of the pumps, would that be a problem with people coming in to use to buy convenient, for the convenience store?
I don't think so, because it's the double door is gonna be in the right side of the car bay garage, so we're just moving the door about 13 feet. The pumps are staying,
Those are the approximate property lines for their property.
And then you were asking for like an expanded
I'm sorry.
overhead canopy or type of thing, or
no.
wasn't that on there, or?
Oh, that
On
was
this one, yeah, they're, as a part of the architectural.
for the awning?
Yeah, for the awning. They're
For the
gonna be
awning,
adding an
awning
awning.
is-
Mhm.
And that awning would be for in front of the store part, right?
Yeah, and facing Menor Avenue.
And Miller Avenue side, okay.
Oh, where are we at here? Yeah, so it should wrap around this way.
Similar to
Really?
Marco's, like across the street,
And where's,
right there, the
so
black
similar
one.
to this,
Okay.
Well, we are matching our Sunoco colors because they changed the imaging and they added for a permit to change our signs for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be sapphire blue if you guys approve.
Yes, which should be a part of your guys' documents, that is that sapphire blue color. It is the, on this page here, it would be this deeper blue,
Okay.
which is a permitted color in section 39.
Is this the picture you're referring to?
No, for the awning color, there's the Sunoco branding change. Oh. Which will match this, but I have another sheet here that actually has the color. There we are, this one here. Sapphire blue. Which should be, that should be somewhere in all of the documents that I gave you guys.
That's here.
Right, I saw that. My only problem, this is for me talking, sir, is that, I'm gonna go back to the, parking. What I don't see here is you're gonna be changing these, you're gonna be changing this store. I'm not opposed to what you're trying to do, but I understand what you're changing, it basically changing from a gas station and minor auto repair to a gas station and convenient, a minor mini convenient,
Correct.
which is fine. My problem is, I know the site's tight, and what I don't see from your architect is, yes, he claims, and I'm not saying he's wrong, he's saying to us, hey, there's adequate parking and adequate traffic flow for people going in and out of the site to either go to the site and not buy gas, but go to the site and get whatever food stuff you want to sell in the store. You just go to the store, buy some stuff, and leave. I don't see any information from your architect that shows us, A, you have adequate parking, and B, what the traffic flow would be in and around the building.
Mr. Chairman, just to point out, this is only the architectural review. They're not applying for a site plan review because these are interior changes and they're just creating a wall. You guys
Oh.
aren't looking.
Okay,
Yeah,
But
interior.
if
My fault.
it is a concern, you can conditionally approve it and ask that they provide
all right.
documentation showing the proposed parking spaces and how traffic is expected to flow on site.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Now, I'm gonna double back on you because I was shuffling papers, you're trying to find everything. This, you're gonna do away with those two large doors? Was there to pull cars in?
Yeah,
Okay. I thought that's what you said, but I wanna make sure I heard right.
yeah. It's gonna be a commercial storefront,
Okay.
double door.
All right.
So where will the parking be? Not the pump park, the people that are in the pumps.
So where that van is, there's two on that side, or three on
Oh, I
that
see,
side, and
okay.
then there's two on the other side.
Okay.
So the parking would be face forward, right toward the building?
Correct. Some people park on that tree line right there. It's about 30 feet away from the pump, if it's two cars.
Okay.
Do either one of those bay doors, does it have a hydraulic lift?
They had the ones that bolt to the top floor. They had a hydraulic lift and they decommissioned it.
Do they? Has it already been remediated, or?
Well, there's nothing there now.
There's
It's-
nothing there?
They had them on the floor that they broke off, the guy who was renting the garage. And he took it down to Riverside Avenue, the guy who used to rent that garage.
Okay. Oh, I can see that, yeah, I can see that, yeah, there's some parking on the side, yeah, okay, all right. The color scheme looks good. see what we're trying to do. And remove the overhead doors and change the storefront. Okay, updating it. Any additional questions for the applicant, from the commission?
We've covered it.
Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Okay, so what we're looking for is an approval or denial of the proposed updating the storefront and removing the overhead doors and changing the color as shown in the application. So, hearing no other comments or questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion for approval or denial of the application.
So moved. Approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
A second by John. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, John Hawk,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Daryl,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, for the third architectural review we have tonight is site plan to review a new Starbucks going at the corner of Barrington Ridge and Menor Avenue. Is the applicant here? Please come forward. State your name, please.
J. Scott Shield, landlord for and managing member of Crystal Property Group, developer and owner of Crystal Plaza.
Okay.
John Holtz, Dimmer Architects.
And Ray Samish, Director of Operations for Mr. Shield.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, go ahead.
So we have worked for a number of years, probably closer to 15 now, with the community to reestablish what was once a dying facility at Crystal Plaza. It was owned by a former group that ended up losing it to auction, and we've kind of brought it back with the help of commission, zoning, with Tractor Supply, reestablishing Mark's as a grocery-anchored center, and also preserving Family Dollar and Aaron's Rents. Over time, we recognized that we had an abundance of parking field like so many of the large, old-style kind of centers had. And so a few years back, we created an out parcel. And we've been approached by, I would say probably a dozen or more users over time when we created that. This was probably the top of the food chain. There might have been a couple others that we could have aspired to bring. The good news is that this is a low demand because it is a drive-through only, so really not tremendous load on parking. It fits well within the community traffic pattern, we believe, and we believe it would be a great addition to the community and the corridor, both from a commerce standpoint and different offering than what is available anywhere in the corridor as people are on their way to work. Again, it's fits within the ratio for the site plan as far as the building size. It's 1,110 square feet, so really compact. We are requesting some outdoor seating, although that is minimal. We are requesting a drive-through as well. And we've submitted a prototype, as you can see in the package, which is in keeping with the National Starbucks brand for its design of drive-through only facilities. And these specifically are designed for the Midwest of the United States. So.
Okay, any questions from the commission members? I got a few, but I'll keep my quiet for last. Okay. Anybody else, anybody have a question?
Does that follow the Western Reserve architecture at all? I mean, is it Is it a completely different type of look, or?
Harley, have any answer for that? When we looked at this?
I will say that it has elements in terms of the materials that adhere to our requirements. I would call it a more modern build, but I think that it would fit with the trustees' desires.
Good. That's all I need to know.
I looked the drawings over, and I'm trying to figure out the traffic pattern that you have on, like, that picture right there shows it pretty well. You're talking about the parking area in front of Mark's, right, or in front of Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply, and so we've kind of owned both buildings. The one building is a 65,000 square foot Mark's, and then there's a center drive corridor that allows for semi-traffic to do load-in around the back of the building. Comes right off of Mentor Avenue.
And the one drawing, you show a traffic pattern, but I guess if somebody could point out where it's coming in and where they're going out at.
So actually, this was one of my concerns, and one of Dave Radacci's concerns was that the main entrance is lining up with Tractor Supply's outdoor storage.
Existing corral where they line up their trailers.
Yes, yes.
So yes, we have done that. We recently engaged the civil engineer, and the civil engineering group is Polaris. So they are evaluating the further traffic pattern for that. Ultimately, we do have the ability to move that entrance more to the east, which would allow us to split that primary entrance, which would avoid it be, probably 40 or 50 feet to the east of the corral. So it splits it. Also, we do have the ability to kind of push it a little further to the road to allow that traffic pattern to be accommodating if we wanted to go all the way to the Barrington Ridge Road side.
Okay. Was there any interest in speaking to the HOAs about an easement for Barrington Ridge access?
Certainly, we would be open to that discussion, although historically, they've been, not overly accommodating or not overly interested in any encroachments on their access road.
Okay.
That entrance is not really accessible. I mean, there's a lot of traffic if you wait long enough. And I know, is that the credit union building on the next one?
It is.
Yes.
The driveway on that side is not very well used, but it's also not maintained very well either, so.
On the east side of the credit union?
Yes.
Correct, yeah. So we have anticipated, and this was part of the discussions with the Starbucks corporate, that primarily their traffic is going to load in and out actually on Normandy where there is a traffic light. So if you go just a little further to the east on the...
And I think a lot of people do use that to get out.
They do.
but, I'm not
Just
sure.
makes it a little easier. There's a bit of a grade as you enter the plaza directly in that access. And that was when the road widening took place, I think, for the Target annexation.
Pretty steep.
So when they did that widening, it caused that grade. Now, we have evaluated cutting that grade, so it allows us to make it a little more gentle, cutting where it kind of slopes up, hits a peak, and then flattens off. So we've talked about leveling that off. It would require us to place a retaining wall on the west side of that drive, but the rest of it would be pretty level and pretty much unimpacted by making that grade a little more friendly and a little more accommodating. That's how we received it. That's how it was engineered by Department of Transportation when the road widening was done. I guess what I can tell you are two things. One is that there have been times when, semis have had trouble navigating that hard right,
Right.
where they'll get, the back of their tractor trailer kind of hooked up on the ODOT curb.
Right.
It hasn't happened often, but it has happened over our 15 years, 2 or 3 times. And so for us to potentially widen that apron just a little bit and to ease that grade is certainly something that, as landlord, we have discussed already, and I have proposals to make that happen. Obviously, that's going to be a discussion with ODOT to widen an apron. But again, what I would think we were speaking to just before that was, I'm just losing it a little bit there at the top of Normandy and Mentor Avenue, kind of in the, if you'd go just the other way, please.
This way here?
Yep, just where you can see the traffic signal at Normandy and Mentor. Thank you. So right there is really where we anticipate that the overwhelming majority of traffic is going to come through. They'll take that access road that runs behind, I think it's a chiropractic clinic now, and the car wash, the muffler shop, the credit union, and then in front of Mark's. And then that will give them a nice straight into the parking field out front of Tractor Supply and Taco Macho and Aaron's and Family Dollar. So we feel that that's where the majority of the traffic's going to be. Because again, the loading out, and we don't have a traffic signal at that first entrance by the credit union.
Closest one to the proposed site.
I'm sorry, sir?
Your driveway closest to the proposed
Correct,
site.
yes.
But people will use that.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
Will use that.
And we do get a strong amount of traffic there at present already.
Correct. I know that. I realize that. I've used that, so I know that. Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. I guess my question to you is, how open is Starbucks to, how I want to put this? As staff has mentioned to us, the color scheme to be creatively meets the Western Reserve look we're looking for. However, creatively and meets it are up to interpretation. So my question to you is, how open would Starbucks be to maybe a little bit of rare, a little bit more, something that staff and you could look at and see if we can get something real. What I'm afraid of is this. We approve this. Starbucks goes in. Everybody, including my wife and my daughter, would love that, because they don't have to go to Mentor, they go right there and enjoy their Starbucks. However, we will have other entities coming before us who will say, we'll do the same thing with the Western Reserve look. And what I don't want to do is water it down to a point where we really are missing what the trustees had envisioned on that corridor. Now, I'm not asking, what I'm trying to do is try to get it a little bit more closer, that Starbucks and Painesville Township could agree with. I'm not trying to make it to where everybody says, done, no. I'm looking at, is there a possibility that we could have, and Harley, help me out if I'm on the right track. I'm trying to get it to where I don't want to have coming down the road, other developments come in, and we kind of try to hold them to the fire a little bit with the Western Reserve. So I'm asking Harley and staff, is there?
Let me ask you.
I don't want to create problems down the road. 'Cause they're trying to
Certainly.
spit out.
So what I can say to that is, in the plans that we have on their prototype, there are primarily 3 color palettes that they can easily bless. Outside of that, I think it gets a little tougher. There's I think an A, a B, and a C. I don't know if we have them all represented on the print. I know we went with A.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think the other 2 are up there, so I think that one is.
That one there would be a much more palatable And I know you have to have, I know that Starbucks has to have that, that green snow, which is fine. And that's Starbucks logo, and I understand that. And then at least the whole entire building wouldn't be that orange type or what you're looking for. I think if it's like something like that, color,
Yeah.
I think that would be something to be more palatable to us,
Yes.
rather than that color scheme. The color scheme, I used, is showed up, probably go the other way.
Now, I don't want to speak for them per se, but I think they're agnostic to it. I think they'd be fine as long as we chose something that was in keeping with one of their 3 pre-described
If
palettes.
this is one of their
It is.
described palettes,
It is.
I think that would be, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I'm only talking.
Yes, sir.
I can't speak for anybody else.
Understood?
That would be closer to what the Western Reserve look. That I think that the trustees envisioned for this quarter. We do, you have that orange, I'll call it orange for lack of a better word.
Yes.
Orange facing for the logo and for above the serving window. But for the most part, it's that Western Reserve that we're looking for. And I think that would be more, in my opinion, much better down the road for us than than that orange building that other one north of there. And if it's one of their ones that they would okay with, I'd rather see that rendition of the color be than all the other ones.
I think that would be more than likely very much acceptable to them. Again, I can't imagine that they're going to fight over palette A, B, or C.
If that's one of their acceptable ones,
It is.
I think C would be, that one right there for me would be the one that we'd want to have and have staff approve, have the building.
Do you think B or C? I think B is the one that's represented in more of the gray with the
The one
brick.
on the left?
I think that's C, that's B, and then the top one's A.
So let's go with the one that's more grayer.
The gray.
Yeah, the gray one.
Whatever I want to, that's B, then I would take.
I think that's A.
That's B.
Yeah.
Is that
So
B?
they're
Oh, I'm
listed,
sorry.
so here's A,
There you go.
B,
C,
and
yes.
C. And I believe C is what what was submitted to us. And just from staff perspective, Western Reserve architecture being more traditional, I would say the less modern the color scheme, the more palatable it would be. And just staff opinion, which again, I believe C is what we're looking at anyway, and that's what Chairman desires, correct? I
Yes.
believe that,
And I don't see
brick-
that as any challenge whatsoever.
yeah, that brick color matches pretty similar with the rest of the buildings on site, correct? That,
Yes, it does.
So,
Is our approval contingent upon that acceptance or not at this stage?
it was what was submitted, I believe. That's, you would say that this is palette C, correct? If we're looking at it, or is this a mix of palettes? Because this, I
I
only see
think
this
it's- I think
brick
that's-
color and
I
C.
think that was A is what we submitted, but that's like the Starbucks rendering on there, kind of just like what it's masked as.
So that may very well be C, but in our design, we just had to make a choice for submission.
Okay,
We're not married to anything, and again, if C is acceptable, we can push that, for sure.
So like you said C is one of the acceptable ones to Starbucks.
Yes,
And if that's the case,
yes.
that looks about, to me, in my opinion only, closer to the Western Reserve look that we're trying to look for.
And we're here to try and further those efforts.
That's what I'm saying, if that's acceptable with Starbucks, we'd be fine with that.
It's
Good.
probably more traditional. with
Sounds like they're
rendering.
more than amenable, right?
Agreed.
Sounds like we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except as long as that's a condition or requirement.
Don't have any problem with that.
Okay. Anybody else have any more questions for the applicants? My wife will be happy. Not me. Anybody else have any questions for staff? Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. and
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
We have to approve or something.
Yeah, we have to approve it. We have to either approve it or deny it. One more thing, folks, you may have to get talking with ODOT and your drive, you may have to get a traffic study from ODOT as far as that's concerned. That's not us, you're utilizing the existing driveways of your shopping center. So that is and you're using the internal of the shopping center. So traffic pattern wise, it's not being, you're using what you have. You're not changing it. But if you're gonna change something, especially on Menor Avenue, then that's gonna be a ODOT, something like you said, you engage Polaris. Polaris gonna have to go with that and go to ODOT with that. So I think that's probably a very good option you probably have to go with, okay? I mean, trying to improve that drive is probably very helpful. Okay, so, what we have in front of us is, anybody have any more discussion or questions for that?
Just
John,
one
go ahead.
question for, that traffic that goes into Tractor Supply and goes across the way and comes out, you're crossing different people's property, correct?
No, actually, Crystal Property Group owns it all the way to Normandy. You can see, Roy, yeah. So here, this is all Crystal Property Group. This is the Marks. So all of that property is owned by,
So all the driveway in front of all those are?
yes,
Okay.
Crystal Property Group owns that as well.
Okay, folks. Any more questions or concerns? I mean, questions are for the applicant or for the staff?
I mean, it does accompany the proper spacing for the drive-through, correct? I mean, it's not gonna be a situation where they're backed out to the street or anything, right?
Well, according to it was like 17 or 18 slots, I believe, for drive-through. Am I correct?
No, that's more than enough.
And where the drive-through comes in, if we're looking at the map here, it'll come in and wrap around to the front, and it will be all on Crystal Properties property, the entire time. It would,
So there's like 2 queues. So
Okay.
15.
Yeah, as soon as I heard somebody say like 15 or 16, you know, even on a real booming day, we should be fine, right?
Yes, I'm aware.
So he was pointing out the entranceway or the exit?
Yeah,
Just on that stacking question as well, the site plan also calls for 2 pull-aheads. So we've got 15 vehicles in queue, and you can add 2 more in the pull-ahead. So really 17 before you start offloading people into parking spaces.
And the thing is, that's internal in your shopping center.
Correct, yeah,
right.
we'd be 40 cars before we'd be spilling anywhere.
But like
Right.
what I'm saying to you is that we don't, that problem wouldn't go on to the public street system.
True.
It would be internal in your shopping center.
Right,
Correct.
that was my only concern, and it sounds like it's more than,
Yeah.
it's more than appropriate,
Yes,
even on the best of days, right? And it's
I
just
understand.
property, so.
If it's not, they'd be happy because they're making more money.
any other questions for the applicant or for staff?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, entertain a motion for approval. And if you want to make any amendments to the motion as far as what they presented to us, entertain that also.
I'll make a motion to approve and include the color description that we talked about, that's what we prefer and like to see happen. And in fact, we make it part of the conditions of the approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the site plan as presented, except that we will have a scheme number, what is that, C or B? C. So we'd have prefer color scheme C as condition of approval. That's the motion. I have seconded by Mark, made by Darrell. Discussion on the motion? Have you heard none? Roll call, please.
Okay, Darrell,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, appreciate it.
all right. We have new business, we have none. Old business, we have rewrite the sign section. I know that Harley gave us last time a rewrite, something from version of the sign dimensions from Concord Township. And I'll be honest with you, Harley, I glanced at it. I did not really read it very intently. I'm sorry. I don't know how the other commission members are. Ready for this? If we're not really ready to engage, we just like continue this, or somebody has any other comments? I apologize, I did
I'll
not.
move it to next month.
Anybody have a problem moving
In
it to
fact,
next month?
if you want a motion, a motion is,
No, we'll just close it, we'll just continue it in next meeting. All right? Okay. Now, next, item number 9, address the dispensation of any closed public hearings. We had 3 public hearings, we closed all 3 of them. Public hearing number 1 that we had tonight was case 2207. That was rezoning number of parcels along Menor Avenue from a B1 to a B2. That is what the case was. We need a recommendation to the board. We heard from Planning Commission that they would prefer us go to a B3, but kind of do a study of the B3 rather than just go directly to a 2. And now, the only thing is, here's the thing is, on the motions, all the motions have to be a positive, meaning that motion is to approve, motion to recommend to them B1 to B2. Now, by saying that, and we all vote, if it's a negative vote is what you're looking for, or not to approve B1 to B2, and you would vote no, and our recommendation to the commission to the board would be we don't recommend you changing these parcels from B1 to B2, due to our, what we heard in the public hearing, and also what was information given to us by the Lake County Planning Commission.
I thought that was a consensus, right, Ted? To discontinue to B2? Or
Correct.
To disapprove that?
So, I know it's not, they don't want to go to B2, they rather think it's not the correct thing to do for right now.
Right.
They rather go to B3, but do a study, see how that would work out. So, having said that, what is the commission's pleasure on our recommendation to the trustees? Or can staff help us out here?
I will say that there's a time-sensitive issue that brought up this consideration of the trustees. They were approached by someone interested in purchasing property, and during that discussion, the trustees found that they agree that there should be more intensive uses in this section, thinking that B2 as a transitional zone was the answer because it allows more intensive uses than B1 and less intensive than B3. That was why this was proposed, this map change. That said, the consideration to rezone instead to B3 and postpone any rezoning, while I definitely understand the planning commission's reasoning. Like I said, I definitely do. There is a time-sensitive issue in relation to this that the trustees may desire to follow through with this rezone and then revisit the study. But what the zoning commission's recommendation is to them, you know, that's just my take on it. Whether or not it's appropriate for the zoning resolution
Gotcha.
is really the question. There is an ultimate goal and something that is being tried to be accomplished, but at the end of the day, the zoning commission should provide recommendation based on what's best, you know, best practice zoning-wise, not
Yes.
necessarily what,
Trustees want.
yes.
And correct me folks if I'm wrong, and as a law director too. So we make a motion to, you know, we go B1 to B2. If we agree with that, then, you know, we have to make okay. We make a motion to either change as approve the rezoning from B1 to B2. That would be the motion. If you agree with that motion, even though you make the motion, doesn't necessarily have to vote that way. But for zoning wise, I understand what the planning commission has presented to us. We should be looking at this a little bit more a holistic way, rather than go from B1 to B2. For us to go to a B3, it's got to be another case. We just can't go from B1 to B3. So, having said all that, and we closed the public hearing, we have 30 days to make it a recommendation to the trustees. And trustees have the right to either go with our recommendation or not go with our recommendation. The recommendation, as staff said, zoning-wise, what makes sense for zoning-wise may not make sense for what they're envisioning, but for zoning-wise, is it best to do this in a B2 or study it and maybe look at it for a B3? But this case is for a B1 to a B2. That's what this case is for. And only that. So having said all that stuff, and hopefully legal could help me with that, am I right or am I wrong?
You're correct. And so what will happen is somebody will make a motion to approve that change. Second it, do a roll call. If it ends up being voted no, then the recommendation to the trustees would be not to make that change, and then they'll make their decision one way or the other. And if you do vote to approve it, then that would go to the trustees but the motion would be to approve it, and then you'll either vote
Yes or no?
yes or no.
Right. So the motion has to be to approve it, even though you may not want to vote that way. It has to be a positive motion. So, anyway, so having said all that, what's the commission's pleasure?
I make a motion to approve.
Rezoning the site from B1 to B2. I got a motion by Mark to approving the rezoning from B1 to B2.
And I can vote no, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
but all right now. Okay, I have a motion.
No, but I have one question before we
Go
go
ahead.
on, if I could. The definition of a transition zone, you mentioned that before, a transition zone, and B2 is not a transition zone, it says. Now, what does constitute a I mean, we have a list of what can go into one or what can go into the other one or whatever, but transition sounds like it could be something meaning to you, but not necessarily to me, and I guess I would feel more comfortable if I knew more of the information about what the trustees are deciding on, but I realize that could be confidential information at this time.
The transition zone is going from heavier uses to lighter uses, more restrictive uses. A residential district is more restrictive because they only have very limited uses of single-family houses, government buildings, churches, and schools. And then retail is a little bit heavier, you get all the businesses, different types of restaurant, different types of offices. Usually a transition zone will go from the heavier uses to the more restrictive uses in a nice orderly fashion, so it doesn't affect the neighbors who are in the residential districts aren't affected by the commercial districts. And so that's what normally a transition zone is. Usually a multifamily district is usually a transition zone. A strictly office district where they work 8 to 5, dentist office and engineer's offices is a transition zone where they go from the heavier retail or industrial to residential. You have multifamily, which is condos, a little heavier residential use than single family is. It's also a transition zone. The way the purpose statement is written for, sometimes you'll see sometimes you'll see in the purpose statements, the code will specify this is a transition zone between different uses. You can do that in the purpose statement of B2. It is meant for regional or neighborhood businesses on nodes. It's meant for the corner of Bohol and Madison, or Park and Madison. The Dollar General on Madison and Park is in a B2. That's a node of two major roads intersecting together. And so that's what the point of that's what that district's purpose is. Its purpose is not a transition zone between B1 and B2.
And then try to think of, like with B2, like that storage building is not heavily traffic or anything.
Yeah.
Usually the
usually
insurance company and the other building used to be a bank or something now.
Yeah.
That does not require a lot of traffic either.
Well, it's not really, yeah, those are, but I'm using, like in Madison Township, they have an office district, then they have a B1, a B2, and a B3. The office district is the smallest district, and it's used to be a transition between residential and the B1. And then B2, and each use gets heavier and heavier. So B3 is what they call heavy commercial, and those are your automobile repairs, trade businesses that have offices, and then go landscape contractors, electricians and plumbers who have an office and a shop where they store their materials and then drive off-site every day. Those are a little bit more of a problematic towards residential.
Not to hold up things, but the gateway concept that was supposed to be for this area, that's what the B1 was for. It was redesigned to be a gateway. And all of this was to have the Western Reserve architecture on any new buildings and anything that's being remodeled. So if we're doing that, are we getting rid of all that stuff and it's free for all?
That's part of the study that you would do for if you want to rezone everything to B3, as the planning commission suggested. That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. Well, I just wondered what happens to the gateway idea.
Well, the other thing about the gateway idea would be if you still have, you still have section 39 in the architectural, Western Reserve color scheme, then whatever would go into that, even if whatever is zoned in there, if I remember correctly, that Western Reserve look blanketed over any zoning in that area. So anything that needed to be remodeled or new in that area would have to conform, or at least try to conform to the Western Reserve law, whether it be an office building, whether it be a commercial building, or whatever the case may be. But again, if we go with, and that's a good point that Daryl's making, that if we go to even if we approve the B2, and we recommend to the trustees, yes, or we, that's a great question, that, for the trustees to, when they do their, public hearings, now that would be something that, from our standpoint, by doing so, are you getting rid of the Western Reserve look? I don't think so, but that's a discussion we have to have with them, down the road. Or rethinking this and trying to, do a rethinking of this. Anyway, John, you have any more questions on Dave?
No, I'm still trying to figure out what, I mean, I know what he's saying, and when we talked about that, assisted living and all that sort of thing in that same area, I'm not sure if we ever discussed what that was in B1, B2, or B3.
And the thing is, I'm hearing what the planning commission made some great points as to why this should not be a B2.
Right.
And also, they made some great points that we should have a study, or, between them and the trustees, and have to figure out exactly what you want in this area. A great point, absolutely great point. So that's what I'm saying is that, again, we can make that statement if we so desire by voting no, and then see what the trustees say. Because trustees can from the zoning point, the planning commission makes a great point, okay? Daryl makes a great point too. If we go from B1 to B2, are we throwing away that Western Reserve look that you folks had us go to do? Well, again, as Mr. Radazzi from the planning commission has told us, that's a discussion that needs to be done down the road. But for this case, do we, as a zoning board, agree with rezoning this area from B1 to B2? Bring it down to, that's what we need to do. And our recommendation to trustees is, trustees gave us this case. They said, hey, zoning commission, we want to rezone this area from B1 to B2. Please look into it, have a public hearing, and do what you think you need best to do. Staff and us gave it to the request to the Lake County Planning Commission. They came back and gave us their reasonings for saying, no, we think it's a bad idea for you to do this. Now, for zoning wise, now, they have an opinion, our commission has an opinion, the trustees have the final opinion. They can either go with what the planning commission said, they can go with our recommendation of saying yes or no, and even if we say yes, they may talk with the planning commission and change their minds. Or we say no, and we agree with the planning commission, we can send that recommendation to the trustees, and trustees can say, okay, we agree with you, zoning board, okay, we'll say no now, we'll look into it a little bit further with a study,
Yeah.
or they can say, guess what, guys, we
What
disagree
we
with you
said
folks.
earlier was to say no to
This
it
is what we
now,
want.
and
Yep,
then,
and they can say yes. That's their prerogative. Our prerogative right now is, for zoning, do we recommend to the trustees rezoning this area of property from B1 to B2? That's basically it. The motion has to be, as the law director said, yes. It has to be an affirmative motion. That may not how you feel, but the motion has to be affirmative. recommendation is, we recommend rezoning the case, we recommend approval of the case, rezoning this section from B1 to B2. That would be the motion. Now, whether that motion goes forward or not as approval, as the law director said, if there's more no's than yeses, then our recommendation to the board would be a no. If there's more yeses than no's, our recommendation to the board would be, yes, we agree with your concept of rezoning this section of Mentor Avenue from B1 to B2. It's just that.
Mr. Chairman, I still maintain my approval.
Okay, make sure.
He made the motion already. And then I got one more question.
Go right ahead, Darrell.
Okay.
I don't have a copy anymore of the Painesville Township plan. Did you check it against what you have in record to see how this fits into that? Is this a variation from the plan?
Yes, it is a variation. B2 is a variation from the plan. The recommendation was B1 from the last comprehensive plan. And that was part of the planning commission's recommendation, and was based on it didn't meet the comprehensive plan.
That's what I thought I read.
And we didn't feel that that you should vary from the comprehensive plan. There was not enough evidence to vary from the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, so I still have a motion on the table.
I'll second.
I got a motion on the table to approve the rezoning from B1 to B2. Mark made the motion, Darrell seconded. Any discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, John Everett,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
Darrell,
Yeah,
and Chairman.
So what we're saying is that if I say yes, that means I'm approving the rezoning from B1 to B2.
yep.
No. So motion is approved for going from the rezoning from B1 to a B2. That's our recommendation to the board. Okay. All right. Case 2208. So that on that last case, then our motion was to approve the zoning from B1 to B2. That's what and the 4-1 vote for approval on that. Okay. Case number 2, public hearing we closed here was 2208 ZC. Request proposes changes to the table of uses, B1, B2, and B3. We got, staff gave us a list of the changes, and if I recall correctly, changes were made due to the recommendation of the Plan Commission, except for one. Am I correct, Harley?
The changes were made on the document that I presented to you, showing those changes with the exception of new motor vehicle dealerships. That was still redacted in the version I gave, but either way, the zoning commission can make a motion to approve as proposed, approve with modifications, and could then subsequently list the modifications that they wish or they desire to recommend the trustees make.
Okay. Okay, so we make a motion to approve with the modifications as discussed at the meeting tonight from the public hearing.
And just to specify what those modifications are, Mr. Chairman, if adopting the Planning Commission's recommendations, it would be to keep new motor vehicle dealerships in the B3 district, to keep adult-oriented businesses in the B3 district, and to remove bowling alley and add indoor commercial recreation.
That would be the amendment, modified. at the
As,
meeting.
as.
Modified.
As recommended by the planning commission, if recommending exactly as the planning commission proposed.
Question.
Go ahead, Darrell.
Bowling alleys would now fit into that indoor recreation or something like that?
Yes, sir, it's a part of the definition.
Okay,
That was the planning commission's recommendation.
yeah. No, I just want to make sure I was reading it correctly.
There's, and that's
Is that
what,
bowling alley still out, Fred? Scores?
In other words, we're
no,
not getting
they're-
rid of bowling alleys, we're just
I think we're gonna
covering more
try to take it
uses.
and tear it
That's
down
correct.
and put a detention basin there, actually.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Okay, we have a public hearing that was closed, and we need a motion either to continue, we have a motion to close it, so we need a recommendation to the Board of Trustees.
Do I have to list out all things
I would think,
individually?
I would like to go like this, if we make a motion to approve the request for change in uses, but modified as as modified by the recommendations from the planning commission. As requested, okay.
Yeah, also move.
I got a motion on approval based on the modifications that, planning commission get presented tonight. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by John Everett. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Okay, Darrell,
Yes.
John Everett,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, the last public hearing we closed was the text amendment to amend section 25 to list of permitted uses allowed within an I-1 zoning district. And if I recall correctly, Harley, this is the one where the adult businesses would be going into, okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the proposed changes are to add automotive repair, new car sales with conditional use permit, and adult-oriented businesses in accordance with section 25.14. And then the addition of section 25.14 is a part of this application. What the planning commission recommends is that new car sales remain in B3 and that adult-oriented businesses remain in B3. So if the zoning commission were to approve or to recommend approval with modification as recommended by the Lake County Planning Commission, the only change to I-2, or the I-1 district rather, would be the addition of automotive repair.
Okay. So the motion for this one would be the same as we had earlier. It says modified by, and amended
As recommended.
as recommended by the Lake County Planning Commission.
So moved.
I mean, Mark made a motion for approval of the case as modified, as modified by the recommendation of the Lake County Planning Commission. Do we hear a second?
I'll second it.
Darrell seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Okay, John Everett,
Yes.
John Hott,
Yes.
Darrell,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Yes, okay, sorry, it's too loud. My hearing aids are not working tonight, so that's what I get loud. All right. Items, we have no items held for public hearing. Zoning inspectors report.
I have nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. It's been a
All right,
pretty,
thank
pretty
you.
busy month.
All right. Any further business to, Mr. Verdacci?
yes, I have one other quick thing, if you don't mind.
I do mind, but go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I'd just like to introduce Alana Sensaballo. My new planner one for Lake County Planning, Joe Rose, has left and gone to Columbus, City of Columbus, and we hired Alana to take his place. She's been
Fantastic.
working with us 4 weeks. She helped on these recommendations that were submitted to you, plus the site plan reviews for Starbucks and the Sub-Zero mission.
Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you for, we look forward to seeing you here again. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
I'm sorry if I,
Huh?
You guys have people out there who want to say something?
Oh,
And we have,
we can't shut this out yet. Who else?
Till we find out what they want.
Is anybody else back there?
No. No one that isn't staff.
Lanny, you want to say anything? Okay. Any further business coming before the commission? I got one. Vice Chairman. And the reason why I'm saying this is because next meeting, I have a sectional softball game that I just found out I got, and it's in Riverside though. So I should be able to make starts at 4:30, I should be here by 6:30 or close around it. But if I'm not here at 6:30, the vice chair would at least start the meeting. I remember we talked about this at the last meeting, and the commission members wanted to wait for this meeting. That's the reason why I'm bringing it up.
Are you umping those sectionals, Jeff?
Huh?
Are you umpiring those sectionals?
Yes.
it's gonna have to dry off a lot, because they haven't had a game over there yet.
I tell you, it's,
I've had
buying our.
I've had 10 games.
Billboard.
I've had 10 games scheduled. I've done 2, or maybe 11. I think I've done 2. One in the rain, when I was on turf. The other one was, field was, but it was playable. But it was sunny though, so. So, anyway, go ahead.
We're still
Okay,
in
I'll make
public,
a
we're still in
motion
a
that,
public hearing.
Are we ready?
Yeah, our public hearing's still open. I was just reminding you all.
Okay. I will make a motion that we elect Darrell Webster as our vice chairman.
Second,
Seems a very logical choice.
absolutely.
Okay. It's no problem here with this one.
I had it all set up for us. I thought we would be doing this tonight.
Did I mess up today?
No, you're fine.
Unusual? No problem. Okay, I have a motion on the board. I need a second.
Second.
Who?
Mark seconded.
Mark second.
John made the motion for Darrell to be the vice chairman, and Mark seconded. Do I
Who's the
have?
vice chairman? Wait, who are we voting for vice chairman?
Daryl.
Darrell.
Darrell.
Darrell Webster is the candidate right now. And after you write that all in, roll call, I don't think there's a discussion. Roll call, please.
Okay, John Everett,
Yes.
Darrell, I guess,
He
I'd like
can
to go
vote, but he
last,
can abstain too.
He wants to go last. I'll give him that option.
John Hott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and chairman.
Absolutely.
I will do it.
All right, thank you, Darrell. Folks, if any, no other further business, this is the longest we've had in a while, but we had a lot of discussion tonight. It was
Yeah, it was
good.
a good meeting.
Good meeting. Okay, folks, I'll close this meeting, adjourn it at 8:20.
Okay, what is our June meeting, just, what's our date of the June meeting, can I ask?
June